Good afternoon. Welcome to RSBN Live. We are awaiting President Trump at an Unleashing American Energy Executive Order event. So this is what we've been waiting for. That liquid gold under our feet, the natural gas, of course, that will sustain this great nation for years to come. President Trump committed to this pro-growth agenda from sea to shining sea. I'm Robert McNeely. It's a joy to be with you today on this beautiful Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. And that sun is shining at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House, as this president is committed to making America great again. And we are in for a real treat today at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live with country legend Lee Greenwood, who just received the Horatio Alger Award in Washington, D.C. Sir, please share with us what that award is all about and how it relates to your wonderful and astounding career.
Thank you very much for asking. Horatio Alger is a wonderful society, and I've known about it for a long time. Established first in 1947 to give scholarships to the very underprivileged, not just underprivileged, challenged. For someone who's had a very difficult life and have no chance at college or higher education, this is a place where we can uplift those young kids, those scholars we call them, and give them a chance at a higher learning, whether or not it's college or not, that's their choice. And now being as an inductee and a lifetime member, I'll have my own responsibility in order to nominate, find those students who actually need uplifting, and take them out of adverse conditions and bring them into reality. I've heard so many stories since I've been there, and this week has been absolutely uplifting for me as well. All the performances at DAR Hall, for the many times we put the medal on and talked about how much it means to us, and now to describe as we move forward what our responsibilities are with Horatio Alger is actually very moving.
You've devoted so much of your career and your life to these great things, using music to uplift the American spirit, of course, with your legendary God Bless the USA. We saw last week that President Trump committed to an executive order really to attack the bots that sometimes keep people from attending these beautiful concerts. Of course, Kid Rock was with him in the Oval Office for that. Just some of your thoughts, Mr. Greenwood, on really streamlining these costs, because it's really put Vivid Seats, Ticketmaster, some others on the back burner, and people, of course, upset when they can't see their favorite artists in person.
Well, not just concerts, but America's sport, baseball. I don't know what the last time you took your kids to a baseball game or whatever, but it gets out of sight. And I know that that's a business and they have to run it for baseball or football or ice hockey or whatever it is. But concerts are actually above and beyond that. If you go to most of the arenas that have some of the largest acts in the country, and I have to give Taylor Swift a little bit of plug on how well she's actually attacked the Ticketmaster and not let them scalp her tickets beyond what is reasonable. People are fans. They are fans of mine, and they get to come to see concerts. I just feel it's not fair to us, no fair to the public, in order to take something that is a reasonable ticket to come and see an artist, charge double and triple, because it's not going to deter the fans to come. They're just going to have to pay more, and it just is so unfair. So congratulations to the president. I thank for getting involved, and my friend, of course, Kid Rock, which I talked to last night, he had a performance here in Nashville at the Ryman. So I'm like, yeah, we're all on the same page here.
And we all love visiting Music City, whether it is for bachelor and bachelorette parties, but also a wonderful place to raise a family as well. I love, personally, Franklin, Tennessee is one of my favorites, and our thoughts and prayers with everyone with the storms in Western Tennessee, of course, Auburn, Alabama, our home studio, seeing some of that weather over the last 48 hours, but we have a lot of that happening here. Speaking of music and the creative process, of course, President Trump is the chairman of the Kennedy Center, and that recent thing took place where you were going to perform there, but then some unions got involved, and it would have cost something around $30,000, if I'm not mistaken, to move a piano. So sadly, that had to be canceled. What are some of your thoughts not only on the Kennedy Center, but having President Trump now chairing that great foundation in order to make music great again?
Yes. So I'm at the dais, just in a horseshoe, with all of the newly appointed trustees. There are 32 of us now. And the president joined us for the meeting, the new chairman. The ambassador is next to him. There's another lady there. And then the chief of staff, Susan Wise, is next to me. And I didn't quite hear it. As they brought in the press, the president took an opportunity to turn to me real quickly and address me about this issue of me performing. And I knew that I had been asked, and I had the head of entertainment call me and said, I think the boss may want you to sing. I said, fine, find me a piano if I need it. And so when he said the issue about, hey, Lee, they want $30,000, I thought he said, I was charging him $30,000 to sing, which is actually ridiculous because I've never done that. I was singing for him for free forever. And but it turned out to be that the union actually wanted to have 6 people move the piano from where it was, which is about probably 40 feet, to the center of the stage and in the middle of this horseshoe, and then get some production up with a couple of mics. And I didn't need all that. But I think it was just making a point that it seemed like a little bit ridiculous that you probably could have done that for whatever the minimum the union could charge for $400 or $500 a piece. So I would have paid that just to let me sing for them. But anyway, the boss said, we'll have you do this again later. And it's not an issue, so don't worry about it.
Well, funny story there for sure. Now, Oklahoma is in focus because you are working on an initiative with the state superintendent in order to share Bibles in every classroom and in turn get the Bible back into public, private, and homeschooling institutions. Can you update us on that very noble work?
So I'll just kind of show you that this is the Bible we're talking about. It says Holy Bible, and it says God Bless USA under it because I endorse it, and the handwritten lyrics for God Bless USA are in it. But more importantly, what is in this Bible is the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and we included the Pledge of Allegiance as well. I believe every student needs to know how this country got started. And people came here not to escape faith on the Mayflower, but they came here bringing their faith with them. I consider this a Christian nation. So in doing so, and President Trump, of course, has endorsed this same Bible, and it's available on GodBlessUSA.com, by the way, to pick up your version. We even have one for Easter that's coming out with a pink version. I thought that might be kind of interesting. But the schools in Oklahoma, as well as several other states, has asked that this particular Bible be in the classrooms. I totally agree, and I congratulate the superintendent of schools in Oklahoma and Congressman Ryan for letting us do this. I'm pleased as punch.
Such a noble effort because we see President Trump actually putting the Declaration of Independence in the Oval Office. What does that mean to you, not only as a personal friend of the president, but as this true servant leader, the 47th Commander-in-Chief, so committed to those founding documents? As you said, Lee, it's not about separation of church and state, running away from religion, as the far left has tried to share that revisionist history, but rather the founders of this nation birthed this constitutional republic, claiming and glorifying that these are God's inherent rights that have been bestowed upon us as citizens of this great nation.
You know, we fought for our right to be free. The Revolutionary War was bloody. It was brother against brother. The development of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence put everybody at peril who actually brought that to bear against England and was a superpower at that time. So this republic has to move on and on. And anybody who's a constitutionalist, if I may use that word, anybody who believes in the Constitution or Declaration of Independence, that's what we have to refer to. And I would remind everyone of the Supreme Court, every time that they judge a case, use the Constitution as a basis for that. Don't use some popular opinion. Donald Trump, the President of the United States, is a patriot. I know him very well. I like him so very much. He is a warm, genuine individual that believes in people. There's a lot of things he's done for people you would never know about, who has been so benevolent and as an entrepreneur has dedicated his time and resources, not just to underprivileged and people who deserve it, but also to make this country great again. And I compliment him for this particular endeavor. Keep the Declaration of Independence in his office.
Such a privilege to speak to you, Lee Greenwood, the country music superstar, live from Nashville, Tennessee. Where can we find your latest projects and perhaps your latest music as you continue to really make a great difference, not only through your music, but through your philanthropy?
Well, thank you very much. Go to our website, leegreenwood.com. Of course, God Bless the USA Bible.com will contain our Bible, but it'll also give the new rock version of God Bless the USA, which hit the #1 of the rock charts last month. Proud of that. And all of the things that we do for our soldiers, and that's building homes for wounded warriors. And I'll give Helping a Hero a plug is what we do. And so go to leegreenwood.com or godblessusa.com to find the Bible. Thank you.
Happy Easter to you, Mr. Lee Greenwood. Thank you so much. A true privilege to speak with you here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Look forward to having you again in the near future. And of course, that wonderful gift for Easter. Thank you for sharing with us today.
Yeah, it's pink. Guys, get this for your wife.
Yes, it's a good gift for the ladies for sure. Thank you, sir.
Happy Easter.
And that's what we hope to do here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, is to bring you unbridled access to the people who are making a difference on a regular basis, whether it's from Nashville, Tennessee, to Seattle, Washington, to Anchorage, Alaska, or even down in this part of the country to Key West, Florida, everywhere in between. This country is built on these grand stories, civics, and a civilization built on constitutional governance, republicanism, not the party, but being a nation of law and order, that all are equal under the law and under our inherent rights from the Creator, the Bill of Rights. And perhaps no one articulates it better and fights for it stronger than country music superstar Lee Greenwood. A pleasure having him on Right Side Broadcasting Network Live today, as we thank our sponsors, Colonial Metals Group. Paul Stone, the CEO at Colonial Metals Group, knows how important it is to have gold and silver in your portfolio. It is the best bet and hedge against inflation. Look at what the Chinese Communist Party has done in the last few days, hitting us back with tariffs, doing war games along the Taiwanese border, and threatening that great island nation of freedom fighters. You know, really intimidating people across the globe, but it's different for them now because President Trump is in charge. But regardless of who the government is or who's in charge, the best bet for you is to shield your savings now. You can scan that QR code there on your screen, or go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. That is freegoldguide.com/RSBN. And it'll give you all that information you need, no obligation. Great patriots like Judge Jeanine Pirro, among many others, endorsing this extraordinary company. In fact, they are my go-to for everything gold and silver. And if you subscribe now and purchase any gold and silver from Colonial Metals Group, you'll be qualified not only for a free safe, but up to $7,500 in complimentary silver. Think about that. Anyone can use an extra $7,500, especially when it's in tangible silver that you can hold in your hand, that will not just be depleted in banks or other portfolios. So whether it is properties, assets, 401ks, IRAs, all good to have, but why not consider either rolling into or gaining your own gold and silver? As Warren Buffett has warned, he's poured billions into the stock market, into gold and silver, and you should do the same. An important task today here at Right Side Broadcasting Network: shield those savings with Colonial Metals Group. Thank you to Paul Stone, the outstanding CEO, and the wonderful people committed to this great nation. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Thank you for sponsoring us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. And there is a live look at the White House. A beautiful day in Washington, D.C., as President Trump is prepared to unleash American energy, an executive order event that should be one for the record books. Every day is like Christmas with this new administration in place. And if you're watching the broadcast earlier, we were able to have on, of course, White House Press Secretary Caroline Levit doing one of her live press briefings from the James S. Brady briefing room. Of course, that's the old swimming pool room in the West Wing of the White House. If you have visited, if you've been in there, you know it's quite a small room, and it's jam-packed with reporters and journalists who are in town from various networks. But President Trump, Caroline Levit, this entire staff and the cabinet committed to making America strong again, making America wealthy again, making America healthy again with the Maha movement, and ultimately making America great again. And it's in those constitutional values, it's in the great Bible that Lee Greenwood so eloquently stated on the show moments ago that have shaped this great nation. It's not freedom from religion, it's freedom of religion. And that's why we have been so prosperous over the course of 250 years. And think of the conflicts that we've been through: a revolution, a civil war, 2 world wars, and different conflicts in between, and post-World War II era America, where arguably we should not have been involved in many engagements. This president standing up for peace through strength, focused on starting no new wars, instead bringing hostages back home like Mark Fogel in Russia, or even this past week, 2 hostages that were in Mexico. They've been brought home. The hostage count is over 20 now of people that President Trump have brought home and has saved. And that's, of course, the great mission of people like Steve Witkoff and others who have committed themselves to this America First policy stance. Marco Rubio, our outstanding Secretary of State, someone who President Trump has mentioned perhaps will go down as the best Secretary of State this country has ever seen. That's his line when he's talking in various countries or even here stateside. The focus is, if this does not benefit the United States nor our interests, then we won't even entertain it. And we've seen that now, even with friends. Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu meeting with President Trump yesterday, Vice President Vance, Secretary Rubio, Secretary Hegseth, all in attendance, along with the press and Jewish counterparts from the state of Israel, focused on strengthening both countries and getting rid of trade barriers and also unneeded tariffs. So again, all of these tariffs signed last week, bringing nearly 70 nations now to the table, as Caroline Levit mentioned earlier in the press briefing today. They want to talk to President Trump. They want to renegotiate different trade deals. So that bottom line 10% tariff clearly working for the United States. And then if we have to double it, triple it, perhaps quadruple it, or for tonight with the Chinese Communist Party, if they don't pull those tariffs away, President Trump has committed to slapping an additional 104% tariff on the Chinese communist nation. So I don't know why Xi Jinping and his comrades would not listen to what President Trump has to say in this important matter, because he is a president of promises made, promises kept. And if that is ready, Mr. Director, perhaps we can pop up that China tariff, that True Social that President Trump did share just yesterday in regards to China's issued retaliatory tariffs. And those 34% on top of their already record-setting tariffs, non-monetary tariffs, illegal subsidization of companies, and massive long-term currency manipulation, despite my warning that any country that retaliates against the U.S. by issuing additional tariffs above and beyond of their already existing long-term tariff abuse of our nation will be immediately met with new and substantially higher tariffs over and above those initially set. So therefore, if China does not withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, which is now today, April 5th, the United States will impose additional tariffs on China of 50% effective April 9th. Additionally, all talks with China concerning their request and their meetings with us will be terminated. Negotiations with other countries which have also requested meetings will begin taking place immediately. So thank you for your attention to this matter. So all in all, if they don't bring that back by midnight tonight, our time, Eastern Daylight Time, there's going to be a total of 104 tariffs or percent tariffs put on the Chinese Communist Party. Thank you to our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. Free Trump book. So not only get that great Easter book that is the Bible, of course, the story of why we're all here, all freely able to worship our Lord and Savior in his life, death, and resurrection, his final mission before ascending into heaven. Well, President Trump has a mission very similar. That freetrumpbook.com details all of that. Great Easter gifts for the young patriots in your lives, whether it's the Kids Guide to President Trump or the Kids Guide to the Courage of President Trump, or even all of their great Easter bundles to the Kids Guide to Civil Rights, the Kids Guide to Freedom of Speech. This freetrumpbook.com, all brought to you by the future ambassador to Israel himself, former Governor Mike Huckabee, of course, his successor, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders doing an outstanding job in Arkansas. Very busy today. Please pray for the Huckabee and Sanders families, as well as all those who suffered from the storms in the last few days. But she's taking care of that in the beautiful Razorback state of Arkansas. freetrumpbook.com. This is your go-to to learning why President Trump ran for office in the first place, why he chose to run again for an unprecedented third consecutive nomination by the Republican Party, and why he is committed to the constitutional principles that have made this country stand out over the course of the last 250 years. So freetrumpbook.com, a great gift for your young patriots. And did I mention the best part of it? It's free. So only shipping and handling is what you owe. And it's a great bundle to give to those young patriots in your life, or that neighbor who simply won't pay attention to your patriotism. Always good to convert minds and body, soul, and spirit to the great mission of this nation. freetrumpbook.com. Thank you to Mike Huckabee and his team for standing on the right side of history. Thank you for sponsoring us here at RSBN. And we are awaiting a President Trump Unleashing American Energy Executive Order event. And it seems as if every day there is a great event to celebrate at the White House. If you were with us yesterday, President Trump celebrating the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers and admiring what is one of the best teams in baseball. I think now they're at 8 World Series. And he said, well, you have some catching up to do to those New York Yankees at 28, but still they are on pace for being one of the more famous teams and legends throughout America's pastime. And if there is a team that can repeat it this year, perhaps those Los Angeles Dodgers, because they have the pitching, they have the on-base percentage, they have the sluggers, they have everything working in their favor, and it makes me nervous as a diehard Chicago Cubs fan. And I know in this region of the country, it is definitely Braves country in the Southeast, and they are still optimistic about their home team. So hope you get to tune into some baseball as we keep going down the ERA of this president, if you will, 70 plus days into office. He is nonstop, knocking it out of the park. The great on-base percentage, the nonstop winning of this administration. And how good was it to see on the campaign trail that we knew the promises he made really 8 years ago were kept, and that he would continue to fight for the American people, and perhaps now faster than ever before, and also able to surround himself with the great people in this cabinet, this administration. And I think that's something he learned especially from the first, because there were people who claimed to be Republican populists and cared to claim about the future of this nation, but ended up working with Democrats and the deep state in Washington, D.C. to care for themselves, or they wanted that 15 seconds of fame. And they sat there and they lied and they just defamed this great president, his family. Think about Don Jr. and Eric, perhaps the most subpoenaed individuals in all of American history, did nothing wrong other than take over and run a great Trump organization. And think about this. President Trump was asked in the Oval Office just last week about his former daughter-in-law, Vanessa. She's now dating Tiger Woods, and what a great couple they are. But President Trump mentioned that he thinks the reason that Don Jr. and Vanessa ultimately split up was the pressure from everything that took place in the first term. This family has prayer warriors behind them, and it's something never to forget about. Pray for the Trump family, because what they have been through is truly hell and back. President Trump, think about this. 2 fake impeachments. The Russia hoax. He has unclassified the FBI files. Thank God, that was 2 weeks ago, meeting with U.S. ambassadors regarding Crossfire Hurricane. We do know that Hillary Clinton spied on the campaign. Crooked Hillary. When will justice come to the Clinton family and the amount of people they have abused and harmed for years? Hopefully we will see justice, because that's what this country is about, liberty and justice for all. And it's great to have a president who literally took a bullet for this country, and he stood up there. He just wanted to grab his shoe for a moment, surrounded by Secret Service, and said, fight, fight, fight. And that's what we've done. And that was your mandate on November 5th, peacefully and patriotically sending this patriot warrior back to the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, President Trump, doing this job for the American people. He takes $1 salary. Think about that for a second. I always mention that to my liberal friends. Okay, you might not like the policies. I'm not sure why, but explain to me why you don't like the policies, but why attack the character of the person? Because this gentleman takes $1 per quarter and he donates the rest of it to government entities, public or private institutions that need the funding. He did that with Gettysburg in the first term. We had a whole section of the Gettysburg hallowed grounds that were going to be depleted and then really run over and graves removed. As a result, he heard about this and he donated to the foundation in order to make sure that did not happen. So you never forget what those patriots did defending these great values of this extraordinary nation. And may it never happen again, where brother versus brother, cousin versus cousin, family members and friends took arms against one another in a bloody conflict, the worst conflict really this country has ever seen on American soil, claiming over 600,000 lives. It was the worst conflict, the worst war, the worst battles that we, quite frankly, have ever seen. And God willing, that will never happen again. It was Republican versus Democrat, North versus South, and again, family member versus family member. But in this day and age, let's remember peace through strength, peace and prosperity. It's done by dialoguing. It's done by defending the great constitutional principles that have made this nation the strongest in nearly 250 years of existence. Thank you to angelpace.com. Experience the miracle today. The vitamin B great cream we got here. Okay, this will make sure that your dry skin gets all smooth and silky and it's healthy. There's non-GMO, no chemicals. The vitamin B really infuses your hands nicely. I've tried it here on the show. My hands were glowing. They felt great and I felt at peace because you get those cracked, dry hands. It just doesn't look nice, especially if you're on a first date and it's just, or you're trying to close a deal and then you shake hands and people notice your nasty, bloody knuckles. Oh my goodness, I've been through it. So make sure you get Angel Pace Miracle Cream, vitamin B infused, great, non-GMO, no chemicals, Christian owned. This wonderful company also hires veterans. They're outside of Spring, Texas, right along the Gulf of America in the Lone Star State. Angelpace.com has many different options as well, whether it's the orange immunity option filled with vitamin C or a natural mosquito repellent. They also have a facial spray. Good for the guys especially. So dudes, don't worry if you're going fishing during the day. You can still grab that tackle box with this miracle cream. Experience the miracle of miracles today at angelpace.com. Thank you for sponsoring us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. And again, President Trump promising reciprocal tariffs against the communist nation of China. We'll be watching that closely tonight as we get closer to that midnight hour. It's midnight our time where that will be taking place. President Trump also very pleased with the Supreme Court redacting the order against the Alien Enemies Act. So that's exciting to see that there. He also has a physical scheduled for Friday. If we could post that, Mr. Director. President Trump mentioning that he feels better than ever before, but he says, I'm pleased to report that my long scheduled annual physical examination will be done at Walter Reed Army Medical Center on Friday of this week. I have never felt better, but nevertheless, these things must be done. And I hope I feel as great as President Trump does at 78 years young. I can agree with him. I feel better personally, mentally, physically, spiritually than I've ever have. But again, I'm like half his age. He could be my dad. I mean, this guy at 78 barely needs any sleep. He pulled 2 all-nighters on the campaign trail and then followed up with a morning show. How awesome is that? That was, of course, according to Don Jr. and Kai, his lovely granddaughter, who will be a golf superstar if she is already, she already is going to attend Miami down in Florida there. Also, the congressional budget plan has President Trump's full support. He posted on Truth Social, the budget plan just passed by the United States Senate has my complete and total endorsement and support. All of the elements we need to secure the border, enact historic spending cuts, and make tax cuts permanent, and much more are strongly covered and represented in the bill. Thank you to Senate Majority Leader John Thune and House Speaker Mike Johnson for their hard work and attention to detail. There is no better time than now to get this deal done. The House, the Senate, and our great administration are going to work tirelessly on creating the one big, beautiful bill. We have that in all caps, of course, an appropriate name if Congress so likes. Everyone is going to be happy with the result, and this passage will make even the subject of world trade far easier and better for the U.S. of A. The House must pass this budget resolution and quickly make America great again! Exclamation point. And of course, we support President Trump's efforts in really reshaping the entire economy. It is something that will be unbridled success, as you might hear elsewhere, but perhaps not, because we have a lot of networks that are, quite frankly, fake news and are against President Trump. The problem is we have not had manufacturing and shipment and exporting in this country like those norms we once had. The reason we got out of the horrible depression that we did was not because of the Green New Deal or the Great Society or any of those far left communist principles that have left us with things like bloated Social Security, unfunded liabilities, $36 trillion in debt. It's a global crisis. It is something that will move our national security in the wrong direction if we don't fix it. President Trump focused with these tariffs in order to build factories, steel manufacturing, and everything associated with, again, the rebuilding of this American engine known as our economy and strengthening the U.S. dollar. We can't go wrong. And in the meantime, of course, like we say here, get those assets like gold and silver. It makes a huge difference for you financially, whether it's retirement, whether it's sending one of your young patriot students to great institutions like behind me, Auburn University, a great group of people here in the friendliest village on the plains. And just a quick staple to the beautiful Auburn community. Congratulations to Coach Bruce Pearl. We made the Final Four. I know there's some disappointed hearts and minds with the game the other day, but what a courageous group. Of course, their symbol, call God. Make sure you do that, because as Coach Bruce Pearl said, the worst thing you can do to someone is simply ignore them. And there's a live shot there of the beautiful campus from Toomer's Corner. If you ever visit, make sure you grab a lemonade right underneath that camera and some memorabilia. I've grabbed a couple of great Auburn Tiger memorabilia myself, and we are proud to be live here again from the friendliest village on the plains. Great people. I talk often in this. I'll call family back home and say I'm just walking into my favorite fast food joint or wherever it might be on campus. The amount of students who will hold the door open for me and say, "How are you, sir?" I mean, it's an incredible thing. It's a great culture. It's hard to find that kind of positivity on each and every campus, but there's something in the water at Auburn University, and it's the goodness, the graciousness, and the God-fearing nature of those who are looking to become servant leaders in their own right. We're also home to Miss America, Abby Stockard, as well. So there's a lot of famous things happening on this campus. It's all American. It is as Americana as it gets, as you look at the live shot there from Auburn University on Toomer's Corner. We are awaiting President Trump at an Unleashing American Energy Executive Order event. Say that 10 times fast, as President Trump wants to quickly drill, baby, drill, whether it's in the Gulf or right under our feet, that liquid gold that will really in turn not only bring us economic prosperity and energy independence as it did in the first term, but also open up those wells for natural gas. Think about the Keystone Pipeline. Even communist dictator, the former governor of Canada, Justin Trudeau, wanted AutoPen Joe Biden. Please, 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 Mr. President. He was on his knees begging him, please, please, please keep the Keystone XL pipeline. I need jobs for Canada. And he was crying like a baby in the process. But then, of course, AutoPen and his Green New Deal communist buddies had to shut down that pipeline from Alaska to America, costing North American jobs in the thousands. But at the same time, endorsed that Russian pipeline that dominates energy into Germany and dominates all of Europe as a result, ultimately leading to Putin's illegal invasion of the Ukraine. So that's my question for you, the viewers, today. Do you prefer these globalist policies of the AutoPen, Joe Biden, and his comrades, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Hussein Obama, the living former loser presidents? Or how about the constitutional president, the people's president, the true federalist, Donald John Trump, citizen servant, 45th and 47th President of the United States. And Mr. Director, that sponsor one more time for me. Oh, my pillow. I might need to take a nap after all of my just speaking it truth to power. That's what I like to do here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, because we are on the right side of history. And if you are sleeping on your right side or your left side, or if you're a back sleeper like me, mypillow.com/RSBN, regardless of how you like to rest. One thing that is non-negotiable is buying into this spring sheet sale. The Giza Dream Sheets, the Pear Sheets, save 50% now if you get the queen size sheets for $29.98. Think about this. Mr. Mike Lindell, a great patriot. He loves freedom of speech. He loves election integrity. Heck, he might even be the next governor of Minnesota, and we hope that happens. And Mr. Mike Lindell, if you're watching, please join us on the show and make that announcement right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. That would be so much fun. We're grateful to you and your amazing team in Minnesota for taking the best quality products from around the world, but especially here in America, and manufacturing it here in the good US of A. And mypillow.com/RSBN, you'll find up to 2,000 different items for up to 50% off of everything. It's a spring sheet sale. Get those Easter baskets filled with some very comfy queen sheets. Again, the Giza Dream Sheets, the Pear Sheets, not only comfortable, but look at that, the Pascals, the beautiful colors that you have on your screen there. $29.98. I mean, lunch can be more expensive than these sheets that you can use for a long time. Call 800-836-7566. That's 800-836-7566. Call today. Do not delay. mypillow.com/RSBN. Thank you, Mike Lindell and the great patriots in Minnesota, for supporting us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. There's a live look at the White House. President Trump doing what he does best, an executive order event on American energy. And I'm sure we'll have some statements about how that will work itself out. But isn't it beautiful to watch in these roughly 70 plus days being back in office, how he has a laser focus on each and every issue, securing the border. Tom Homan, Kristi Noem going on these raids to get these bad hombres out of the country. They're the worst of the worst. They're rapists. They're murderers. As he said in his first speech coming down that golden escalator, that they are not sending their best. They're sending their worst, and that we're going to take care of this. Promises made, promises kept. As we await this President Trump executive order signing, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but stick with us right here live at Right Side Broadcasting Network for all things inside and outside of the Beltway. We'll see you right back here soon to catch this live coverage of the White House. See you back in 2 minutes.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
President Trump is keeping his promises and saving America. And your kids can learn all about it for free with a new Kids Guide to President Trump. This fun guide shows kids all the steps President Trump is taking to put America back on top of the world stage, including building a strong economy, protecting our borders, and negotiating trade deals. It's an exciting way for kids to learn about President Trump's outstanding leadership. Act now and get a free bonus guide, The Courage of the President. Order now at freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98.
Trade barriers, other countries, well, those
6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. 10 minutes after the top of the hour, that beautiful, somewhat twilight, late afternoon, early evening, blessing us with its sunshine upon your house, the People's House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, otherwise known as the White House. A beautiful place to not only explore, but to see history live in the front row, as it's Masters Week, and we are celebrating here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Robert McNeely. Always a joy to be with you, the American people, the patriots, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green, Independent, whatever your affiliation might be. You are always welcome here on the right side of history. It's we the people versus a bloated bureaucracy, and President Trump is bringing a wrecking ball to the deep state on a daily basis. In fact, if you did not catch the @White House on Truth Social, if you have a truth there, follow the new account @White House. We'll toss it to the tariff video, President Trump talking about the wealth that will be brought back to this great country. We'll toss it there now.
For decades, the United States slashed our trade barriers on other countries, while those nations placed massive tariffs on our products and created outrageous non-monetary barriers to decimate our industries. They manipulated their currencies, subsidized their exports, stole our intellectual property, imposed exorbitant VAT taxes to disadvantage our products, adopted unfair rules and technical standards, and created filthy pollution havens. This all happened with no response from the United States of America. But those days are over. But such horrendous imbalances have devastated our industrial base and put our national security at risk. In the face of unrelenting economic warfare, the United States can no longer continue with a policy of unilateral economic surrender. We have to take care of our people, and we're going to take care of our people first.
You know, it's personal for me because I see the hard hats in there. I see the UAW workers. Where I come from, the western suburbs of Chicago, not far from people who had those broad shoulders, who built this great nation. Many members of my family and my ancestors did just the same, worked with their hands to live the American dream, and so that their posterity can stand here and speak his mind freely. It's something I reflect on a lot in this great nation. And speaking to Mr. Producer today, I thought, isn't it interesting? Again, it's not Republican versus Democrat. It's we, the people. In fact, growing up, I was shaped as a cradle Catholic, but Protestant in America, growing up near Wheaton College and being influenced by Young Life, having a great influence on my upbringing as a Bible-believing Christian. But also I think back to before I went to college, before I really faced the far left, the Barack Hussein Obama types who hate this country, I realized even Chicago, very traditionally Democrat, but still conservative in a lot of ways. Well, not today, but let's say 25 or so years ago, with people like Richard M. Daley, those machine politicians, a lot of them very conservative, very religious. You looked in the suburbs, which again, no longer like this, but very Republican in their essence, and they really believed in the same things. And so many people would simply dialogue or identify as a party based on the job they had. Say they were white collar, maybe a Republican, say more blue collar, they were a Democrat, but at the end of the day, it wasn't their sole identity. And that's somewhat changed now because of the far left lunacy we see from these progressives and these communists who are trying to not judge you by the content of your character, but rather your skin color or religious background. And sadly, our Jewish Americans and friends in Israel facing this perhaps more than anyone else in the modern era. And that's why we have to speak our minds and speak up for those who are voiceless. But also, while you do that, make sure you're protecting your family from inflation and from everything that can harm your retirement. The best way to do that, go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Colonial Metals Group, Warren Buffett, and the billionaires have made these warnings. They're pouring their billions into stock markets and to tangible gold and silver. So whether you have properties, different assets, 401ks, IRAs, all good and dandy, but those things can go kapoof and gone in this new economy with AI emerging, with the Chinese communist threat. They were playing war games against Taiwan just the other day. They're still threatening us with reciprocal tariffs that President Trump said will slap 104% on you in total by midnight tonight if you don't change your communist attitude. So what's the best thing you can do to shield your savings right now? Scan that QR code while it's up on your screen, or go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Great patriots like Judge Janine Pirro, great patriots like yours truly. We all endorse this group because if you buy from them now, and there's no obligation, take your time to look over this, make sure it's right for you. But in the meantime, if you're able to then make a sale, make a purchase with this great company, you will get and be eligible for a free safe entered into their contest, also $7,500 worth in complimentary silver. Think about that right now. So scan that QR code now. Shield your savings today. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Thank you to Paul Stone, the CEO of Colonial Metals Group, his great team. And always a pleasure interviewing him here on the network. And if you did not catch it earlier, we did the interview back in the first broadcast, and I post on my social media. So go scrub back and watch that, because Paul breaks down very complicated scenarios into tangible items for you, the American people. Again, Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Do not delay. Scan that QR code today. Thank you for sponsoring us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. And we are awaiting President Trump at an Unleashing American Energy executive order event. There's no backing down with this president. And on a lighthearted note, we've been celebrating so many great victories here, not only in 11 or so weeks of this new administration, but also President Trump's love of sports. Whether it is, of course, the Los Angeles Dodgers, those World Series champions in the White House yesterday, or all of his recent golf successes, whether it was the weekend leading up to St. Patrick's, where I joined President Trump at Trump International, part of the out-of-town press pool, to ask him some questions. Well, he won his championship there at Trump International in Palm Beach. He also won the senior championship as he visited Doral. Live Golf was just at his golf course this past weekend, and we have footage of not only President Trump's amazing swing as we get ready for Augusta this weekend, but also Marine One landing at Trump National Doral. If you have not caught that, Mr. Director, do you mind tossing to those incredible videos of the president? And as we prepare that for you, we look live at that beautiful emerald green. Oh my gosh, it almost looks like Augusta, Georgia right now. Such beautiful green that you have there at the White House. And that's what they say, those April showers, they bring May flowers. And I am excited to see the star-splendid nature that is known as Augusta National, almost as beautiful as our nation's capital. We'll toss that to those videos now. President Trump taking a big swing off of the tee, and then also Marine One landing at Trump National Doral.
Shot.
I mean, is there any cooler shot in all of the Western world? I think not. President Trump, I'm sure, excited for golf this weekend, as it's really the granddaddy of them all for the golf world, the Masters. I know I will be enjoying that. Hope you will as well. But President Trump implementing his bold plan for reciprocal trade as he seeks to reverse the decades of globalization, brought to you by none other than Bill Clinton, NAFTA, George W. Bush, Barack Hussein Obama, and Otto Penn Joe. The Coalition for a Prosperous America stated that a permanent universal baseline tariff resets the global trade environment and finally addresses the destructive legacy of decades of misguided free trade policies. President Trump's decision to implement a baseline tariff is a game-changing shift that prioritizes American manufacturing, protects America's working-class jobs, and safeguards our economic security from adversaries like China. This is exactly the type of bold action and leadership America needs to restore its industrial base. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association. For too long, America's family farmers and ranchers have been mistreated by certain trading partners around the world. President Trump is taking action to address numerous trade barriers that prevent consumers overseas from enjoying high quality and wholesome American beef. Europe will not buy our beef at times. It's crazy to think about. Or if you even go to Costco, much of the beef that we actually consume in the United States, if you want organic, if you want humanely raised, it's coming from New Zealand and Australia. Same situation with Chipotle. They are actually taking American cattle, raising it all the way in Australia. So don't we want to cut back on cost? Let's do it here in the United States, where it's self-sustaining and supporting our great farmers and ranchers. And I spoke, of course, to Ruby Dalla, a great guest of this show, former candidate for Prime Minister of Canada, also former member of Parliament, to our friends in the great North up over our border there. And we touched on a lot of these issues regarding tariffs. She understands the tariffs President Trump has put into place. Right now, because of USMCA, there are no tariffs against Canada other than regarding illegal immigration and the fentanyl crisis, something that was blown open by Otto Penn Joe and the great former governor of Canada, of course, the communist Justin Trudeau. So dealing with those two losers as they go into the ash heaps of history. They were focused on the open border policies of globalism, and it really harmed this great nation. So I spoke to her about these tariffs and the fact that our dairy farmers were getting hit by Canadian tariffs during that time, even going back to the Conservative leader Stephen Harper, the former Prime Minister of Canada, who would help slap those tariffs on Minnesota and Wisconsin dairy farmers. President Trump came in and said, stop doing that. And we hope to see that day when there are no tariffs between our two great nations. But in the meantime, we have to make sure people are not taken advantage here, whether it's our middle class or whether it's our young people, when it comes to fentanyl poisoning. Thank you to our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, Kalshi.com/RSBN. Will egg prices go up or will they drop this month? Well, right now they're dropping under the new Trump economic plan. In fact, they're averaging around $3 or less nationally for a dozen. And it's nice to see that. This is meanwhile Brooke Rollins at the USDA having to deal with all of the avian bird flu. So again, experts fighting back. If this was AutoPen, those would probably be $5, $6, $7, $8 through the roof. It would probably be more expensive than gas to just get a dozen eggs. And of course, whether you go to Costco, Trader Joe's, Mariano's, Publix, wherever you shop, Winn-Dixie, Aldi, whatever that place might be, you've probably seen those signs. Please only take 2, please only take 3. And it's great to see costs coming down in regards to perhaps America's favorite protein. But you can trade on the most important events and the most important questions facing the United States of America on a daily basis. How do you do that? Scan that QR code now or go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. That is KALSHI.com/RSBN. Thank you for sponsoring us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And some of the more successes that we've seen from President Trump's declaration, the days of economic surrender are over. It is Liberation Day 2.0 in this great nation. Nissan abandoned plans to eliminate a shift at its Tennessee production facility recently. General Motors also announced it will increase truck production at its Indiana assembly plant. Guardian Bikes announced it will expand its production capacity and its growth in U.S.-based investment. Equipment giant JCB committed to doubling the size of its new U.S. manufacturing facility. And Ford Motor Company and Stellantis both announced that they will offer United States consumer employees pricing on their vehicles. This is also in addition to Hyundai, Toyota, great Japanese and Korean companies investing so much into our beautiful nation, specifically Hyundai executives a couple of weeks ago visiting President Trump at the White House in the West Wing in the beautiful Roosevelt Room with that great people's president in his own right, Teddy Roosevelt, looking on, that portrait of him as a Rough Rider, smiling upon President Trump with these beautiful reciprocal tariffs and new business deals bringing in billions of dollars into America. They have new factories being built in Louisiana. Governor Jeff Landry, House Speaker Mike Johnson, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, all Louisianans joining President Trump and Hyundai CEO and CFOs as they focused on bringing this great trade deal to the United States. They're also opening plants in Savannah, Georgia. So the Southeast is the place to be, whether it's retirement, whether you are perhaps a student just getting out of school, if you go to an SEC school or not. I'm telling you, this is the place to live. This is where I'm experiencing my American dream. This is where these red states, led by red governors, all changing relatively soon, because if we look at Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, they are all term limited come 2026, and new leaders are emerging to ensure that that American dream, that these red state policies of getting regulations out of your way, getting taxes low, serving companies and the American way of life is at the forefront in each and every one of their respective administrations. I'm telling you, this is where it's at. The Great Migration coming to this part of the country in order to live up to those values found in our documents. And it's important to President Trump because he decided to put that most important of documents right in the Oval Office, right next to that beautiful Resolute desk. Yes, the Declaration of Independence, and they have to cover it with like a tarp or a cloth because you don't want light to damage that beautiful document, but they'll open it on occasion to view. And this Oval Office, just beautiful, ornate with gold. The new design of Air Force One, which President Trump wants Boeing to get working on. He seems to think that they are behind. And usually when he thinks that, more often than not, he is right, because this is a president known for on time and under budget. He had his kids. This was Don Jr., of course, Eric, Ivanka. They were in hard hats when they were 12 and 13 going to the real estate sites. You know, he had told White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt, "You're not too young for this job at 27. I started building skyscrapers in Manhattan at 21. This is a guy who's present, who has a mind of steel, one of the smartest, in fact. I was speaking with Mr. Producer earlier today about that. The IQ levels of President Trump far through the roof. And then his naysayers would say, well, he doesn't sound like it, but look it, he's a guy from Queens. He knows the working class. He's someone who wants to fight for the American dream, someone who's lived that American dream by setting those goals and working hard. It was not handed to him. And I'm tired of people who claim otherwise. President Trump built this beautiful organization. He learned from the best, perhaps the best builder, his dad, of course, Fred Trump, but two very different businesses when you look at it, because his dad was building in Queens and throughout other boroughs outside of Manhattan, in the Bronx as well, and focused on middle to low income housing. A great thing to do, but a young Donald looked out from Queens onto Manhattan and said, that is my treasure trove, that is my oyster, I will build there. And he changed the skyline. I mean, it's extraordinary to see what he was able to accomplish. And if you ever read The Art of the Deal, The Art of the Comeback, I highly recommend them, because it really gives you a glimpse into the mind of this genius that has become the 45th and now 47th President of the United States. Someone who did not need this job, someone who got sick and tired of. You might be watching the videos, whether they be on Facebook, Instagram, X, whatever your favorite social media outlet is, and it shows him all the way back to 1987 remaining consistent on tariffs, on the fact that other countries keep screwing us. He was on the Oprah Winfrey Show talking about this item when Japan, great friends of ours, were manipulating their currency just as the Chinese Communist Party is doing today against this country, against American companies. And as he said in his debates with crooked Hillary Clinton, it's about time that you have someone running this country who knows a thing or two about money. And I got to tell you, it grinds my gears when you have some reporters or journalists with the gall to ask really inept, stupid questions, whether it's aboard Air Force One or in the White House press briefing room to Caroline Levitt. Oh, have you ever balanced a budget? Have you ever dealt with a tariff? Yada, yada, yada. It's almost as if you want to insult the intelligence of this brilliant administration. Ask a fair question. Ask a hard question. They've been forthright about all of it. But don't ask necessarily a dumb question that won't serve the viewers and in turn serve the American people, because these are complicated topics. But in the long run, we've already seen billions and billions of dollars come back to the United States. We are seeing it with a secure border. It goes hand in hand. The drug trade is failing. The MS-13, the Tren de Aragua, the border cartels, all failing in their smuggling, in their human trafficking, in their mission to kill Americans. It ends with this administration. And we're seeing win after win on a daily basis. And it truly is the golden era in the United States, one that will see unbridled access to different markets, to a strengthened American dollar, and truly your opportunity to turn the American dream into set goals, which you should write down and see that lived out. As we talked to Paul Stone, the great CEO of Colonial Metals Group, in the last hour, that replay from an interview I had with him a month ago, he talked about that. Look back to the 1990s. It would take you, on average, the paycheck throughout the United States around that 10,000, 9,000 mark. So give or take, you graduate college, you then go into the working force. You have about 2 years to save for that first home. Now, you have inflation, you have all these other inclement situations that might deter you from doing that, perhaps just the enormous amount of rent that people do pay or the credit card debt, whatever that might be, hindering you from buying that first property. But he said now, on average, it would take 8 years to buy that first property coming out of college, because you're looking at that debt. Perhaps you didn't have the correct major. Perhaps you were told that this is the only way to do it. President Trump creating a whole new game plan for that kind of thinking, throwing it out the window, and then also giving people access to living out their God-given talents in order to experience that American dream. And the best way to learn about that American dream and why President Trump did this in the first place, freetrumpbook.com. A great guide and a great bundle as a gift for all the holidays coming up, especially Easter right around the corner. They have a great Easter bundle. I almost said Easter bunny. Of course, we know he'll be hopping all the way to those gift baskets for your youngins this holiday season. But freetrumpbook.com, brought to you by the great minister, the former governor of Arkansas, none other than the next ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, his amazing team, putting this gift guide together for you. The Kids Guide to President Trump, the Kids Guide to the Courage of President Trump, all free. So you only have to pay for shipping and handling. What a great deal is this free Trump gift for your kids at home. Learn about the achievements of this president and his vision for the United States of America. And if it's not for any young patriots in your life, well, maybe about that neighbor next door who's rattling on about God knows what, or simply does not want to pay attention. And a great opportunity for guys, whether it's baseball season as we are underway right now, or come football season, if that neighbor invites you over for a beer, maybe hand them in exchange the Kids Guide to President Trump, because sometimes you have to speak to grown-up children, especially those children that like to attend Walt Disney World by themselves without children. So I'm just saying that's an opinion of mine. I hope I didn't insult anyone on the other end of that. Disney World is great, but also is studying your country, and freetrumpbook.com, the best way to do that. Thank you to Mike Huckabee, his great team, and the future ambassador to Israel, probably the best ambassador that you can have. freetrumpbook.com. Thank you for sponsoring us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And we're now at the bottom of the hour. I love that live shot of Auburn University. You know, the SEC, it's just bigger here. It's just better. It's just a more grand stage as we congratulate the SEC Florida Gators on their victory in the men's basketball championship. Of course, our team here in the friendliest village on the plains, we're a bit depressed, but as Coach Bruce Pearl puts it so eloquently, what really matters is the relationship with God, and he wants his players to have that, because he said the worst thing you can do is not be mean to someone, it's not to insult someone, it's really not to even raise an inappropriate gesture to someone. It is simply ignoring them. And I thought, wow, that's a profound statement. He said he did not want his players ignoring their Father God. And if you've seen their great memorabilia, the great men's basketball team here at Auburn reaching that Final Four, you'll see their little logo, Call God, a great thing to do in this day and age. And isn't it lovely to see less than 100 days back in the Oval Office, this team of President Trump, Vice President Vance, his extraordinary cabinet, and the 119th Congress, it seems more often than not now that you have people falling to their knees, thanking God, honoring God. We had that with the UK or the UConn Husky women who won their, I believe, 5th NCAA championship. Congratulations to them as well. Again, thanking God for everything he's bestowed upon us. It's become cool again to believe in one another, believe in a higher calling, and to believe that it's more than just a game. It's more than just work. Our true identity as Bible-believing Christians is being in relationship and communion with God, our Savior. And we celebrate that forthcoming soon. Well, we celebrate it every Sunday and every day of our lives, God willing, but in less than 2 weeks, of course, the life, death, mission, and resurrection and ultimate ascension of Jesus Christ, who came to this world so we could have communion with the Holy Father all the way up in heaven. And what a great blessing that is. And that's why we're so passionate here at Right Side Broadcasting Network to be on the right side of history, to celebrate all of those Bible-believing principles that shaped a constitutional republic. We had the great country legend Lee Greenwood on earlier. If you were not with us earlier, scrub back and watch that interview, doing some amazing things, putting Bibles into classrooms, not only partnering with the state superintendent in Oklahoma, but working to do that throughout this great nation. It's not about freedom from religion. That's a falsehood from the far left. It is freedom of religion. You have that right here in this great nation, as long as you honor and bestow and acknowledge these founding principles that made us great, Judeo-Christian principles that put America first. And we know that that's the case for this president, and he said on a number of occasions that God spared him so that he could once again be president of the United States. So we are awaiting our commander-in-chief, who will be at an Unleashing American Energy executive order event. And again, we are excited to see any commentary, any questions coming from the in-town press regarding this very important issue, because in the first term, we were energy independent. We had this liquid gold under our feet. It did not go anywhere. It's still there. And President Trump wants that natural gas and that beautiful gold and silver liquid under us to help make America great again. And we know he is on that mission every day as he seeks to serve us here at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House, a beautiful thing for this great country. If you are planning any summer trips, I behoove you, please take the young patriots in your life and the family out to our nation's capital. As you see there, the White House. It's a museum. It's also the residence of the First Family, and it's also where the executive branch of government does its bidding and does its business. Because when you hear the White House resolution or anything coming out of the White House, that is not even necessarily the West Wing where some communications happen. It's right across the street on the same campus of the White House, but in that beautiful, ornate Eisenhower building that you can see, also a great building to witness. It overlooks the West Wing. Of course, the Vice President's office is the former Secretary of War's office, a beautiful second-floor balcony that overlooks the Vice Presidential motorcade right outside of the entrance to the West Wing. That's why I've always chuckled. I've had the privilege of being there on a number of occasions, and I chuckle a bit because vice presidents, when they sit out on their balcony, think, maybe I can have that job of president one day. And we know that the 49th vice president, Kamala Harris of California, was seething at the opportunity, literally in some cases foaming at the mouth, ready to undercut AutoPen as she did in their coup that they attempted, a man who received 12 million plus primary votes, but the Democrat Party, demos being Greek for of the people, decided to go against the people once again in a third consecutive election and anoint someone they thought a radical nightmare, the communist Kamala Harris. She was such a communist radical. And we pray and we hope that she leaves the people of California alone, and in turn, the people of America. Thank you not for your so-called service. Actually, we should probably launch an investigation, as House Speaker Mike Johnson committed to that, trying to find out, along with Doge, why people make so much money in these roles. They look at their salaries and then they're reporting millions and millions of dollars over the course of 2 to 8, sometimes a decade worth of work. Specifically, they're looking into the Congress, but what about the vice president who made millions and millions of dollars on her, relatively very generous salary, but still she shouldn't have had all of that money in her bank account? Makes you ask questions. But it's nice to once again have constitutional governance and common sense for the American people brought back, Republicans and Democrats smiling ear to ear with this great administration focused on bringing the power back to you, the American people. Thank you to mypillow.com/RSBN for sponsoring us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. The spring sheet sale, those Giza Dream Sheets, the Percale. Save 50% on the Queen sheets, going for $29.98. mypillow.com/RSBN. That is 800-836-7566. Again, 800-836-7566. mypillow.com/RSBN. An easy promo code to remember, RSBN. Mr. Mike Lindell, the great patriot for freedom of speech, for election integrity, also for getting constitutional governance back into our great land. And perhaps the next governor of Minnesota, Mr. Mike Lindell, if you're watching, not only thank you for your sponsorship, but we'd love to hear from you first. Will you be running for governor of Minnesota? In the meantime, take advantage of the spring sheet sale, a great Easter gift for your loved ones, the Giza Dream Sheets, the Percale, all from great Mediterranean cotton, but manufactured and produced right here in the great old US of A. Save 50% now on over 2,000 items. mypillow.com/RSBN. There's a live look of the White House. We are awaiting President Trump today. If you're just joining us, I'm Robert McNeely. It's always a pleasure to be with you here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. That Emerald Isle that is otherwise known as the North Lawn of the White House. First Lady Melania Trump opening up tours once again for the Spring Garden Tour. So if you're in Washington, D.C. right now or visiting before May 1st, be sure to take advantage of the Easter season and the Lenten egg rolls. Oh my goodness, it is always a fun time. This time of year of renewal, revival, of prayer and fasting, leading up to the celebration of the ultimate mission of Jesus and what he did coming here to open up heaven and earth and combining the two, that us mere mortals have a chance at eternity with him and God the Father. What a thing to celebrate this time of year, as we are celebrating so many big victories and so many big wins, as it's now Masters Week. President Trump, where will you be watching the Masters, sir? In case you're watching right now before you go live on stage, to sign that executive order. Love to know if you're going to be at Mar-a-Lago, perhaps having a master's party. Where will you be watching? The great viewers, type now into your YouTube or Rumble accounts or wherever you're watching. Where will you be watching the Masters? Of course, live from Augusta, Georgia. Part of our series, Right Side Sports. We had so much fun this past weekend. Mr. Matthew Alvarez, who will be in this evening, of course. Wow, what great coverage from San Antonio, Texas. Remember the Alamo? He was really close to that Alamo on that river walk. Really, San Antonio, a beautiful city that showcased the Tiger Walk. Of course, our Auburn Tigers competing in the Final Four. So that was awesome coverage and fun to change it up a bit here. So focus on politics inside and outside of the Beltway. Of course, every day is like the Super Bowl for us, dealing in the MAGA populist world and all those globalists who want to try to take down this great country. We are standing on the right side of history to prevent that from happening and to share with you, the American people, all of these different speeches, whether it's President Trump or Vice President Vance and his travels, or the 119th Congress, and especially House Speaker Mike Johnson. All of the successes, all of the struggles, you'll get all of that here. Unbridled access to all of the action inside and outside the Beltway here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. In case you missed earlier the coverage of the White House Press Secretary Caroline Levit, we'll toss that to you now, showcasing all of the success going into week 12 of this administration.
You guys ready? Great. Good afternoon, everybody. How are we? Good to see you all. I have a few announcements off the top today. On April 14th, President Trump will welcome President Bukele of El Salvador for an official working visit here at the White House. They will discuss El Salvador's partnership on using their Supermax prison for Tren de Aragua and MS-13 gang members, and how El Salvador's cooperation with the United States has become a model for others to work with this administration. On April 17th, President Trump will welcome Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni of Italy for an official working visit at the White House as well. The president's thoughts also remain with the families and communities experiencing devastating loss from the severe storms and flooding affected several states across the central U.S. President Trump approved emergency declarations for Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee, allowing FEMA to provide federal assistance like equipment and resources to support state and local emergency response officials who are leading this response on the ground. Last night, the Supreme Court delivered a massive legal victory to the Trump administration and allowed us to continue removing foreign terrorist invaders under the Alien Enemies Act. This was a smackdown to a rogue left-wing, low-level district court judge who have relentlessly tried to stop President Trump from using his core constitutional powers as head of the executive branch and as commander-in-chief. The highest court in the land made it clear that the President of the United States has the power to protect our homeland and forcibly remove foreign terrorists who pose a grave threat to families and communities. Thank you to the Supreme Court for upholding the rule of law and protecting the Constitution. Our message to the monster Tren de Aragua and MS-13 terrorists still hiding illegally inside our country is clear. Deport yourself now, or you will be locked up and sent back to your home country. On another matter, the historic Liberation Day announcement last week by President Trump made it very clear that the era of American economic surrender is over. President Trump is no longer going to allow American workers and companies to be ripped off at the hands of foolish trade practices that shipped away millions of high-paying jobs and hollowed out communities across the country. It's America first, all the way. And despite fear-mongering by the media, the world is clearly responding to President Trump's approach. Just yesterday, President Trump held a bilateral meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu here at the White House. The Prime Minister pledged to immediately eliminate America's trade deficit with Israel and remove their trade barriers. Israel's proactive approach should serve as a model for the rest of the world. Also yesterday, the President spoke with Japan's Prime Minister, who wants to negotiate as well. The President also spoke to the acting President of South Korea this morning. He has tasked Secretary Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer to lead these talks. In total, since the Liberation Day announcement, nearly 70 countries have already reached out to the President to begin a negotiation. Countries are falling over themselves to reform their unfair trade practices and free open their markets to our country. Why? Because these countries greatly respect President Trump in the sheer power of the American market. These countries realize they've gotten filthy rich over the past few decades by imposing substantial tariffs on American-made products and ridiculous non-monetary barriers to block out American industry. The jig is up. Past American presidents sat by and let this happen, but President Trump stood up for our country, and he is saying no more. The president's message has been simple and consistent from the beginning. To countries around the world, bring us your best offers, and he will listen. Deals will only be made if they benefit American workers and address our nation's crippling trade deficits. America does not need other countries as much as other countries need us, and President Trump knows this. He's going to use the leverage of our markets and our country to the advantage of the people he was sworn in to represent. On the other hand, countries like China, who have chosen to retaliate and try to double down on their mistreatment of American workers, are making a mistake. President Trump has a spine of steel, and he will not break, and America will not break under his leadership. He is guided by a firm belief that America must be able to produce essential goods for our own people and export them to the rest of the world. A strong America cannot be solely dependent on foreign countries for our food, medicines, and critical minerals. And America must always maintain a robust defense supply chain. Reprioritizing and strengthening our manufacturing industry are essential national and economic security issues of the utmost importance to President Trump. By focusing on supercharging the onshoring of American manufacturing, the president is already delivering on his promise to usher in an economic golden age for our country. Just look at Friday's jobs report, which smashed expectations for the second straight month. The American economy added 228,000 jobs, nearly 100,000 more jobs than economists predicted, and the fourth highest month for private payroll growth in the past 2 years. There was also a sharp increase in transportation, construction, and warehousing employment. And in just 11 weeks, President Trump has secured more than $1.5 trillion in private sector investment. This is $500 billion more than Joe Biden secured in his entire term. This record-breaking private sector investment will create roughly 350,000 American jobs and counting. If you add up all of the investment pledges from foreign governments, President Trump has secured an incredible $5 trillion in total investments already. In the months ahead, President Trump's pro-growth economic agenda will be fully realized. The largest deregulatory effort in American history is underway. Unnecessary, burdensome, costly red tape is being eliminated by this entire federal government every day, driving down costs and massively boosting small businesses. So far, President Trump's deregulation effort has already saved Americans more than $180 billion, equivalent to $2,100 per family of four. The president's drill baby drill energy agenda, which he will discuss later this evening in the East Room, is capitalizing on the abundance of natural resources under our feet to generate more affordable electricity, cheap gas, and quality new jobs. All of this will combine to end the Biden-imposed cost of living crisis that's absolutely crushed American families. Under President Trump, the American energy industry will lead the globe over the next century, delivering lower prices and significantly strengthening our country's economic position. At the president's direction, Republicans in Congress are working quickly to pass one big, beautiful bill, which will also include the largest tax cut in American history. As President Trump has said, the House must pass this budget resolution quickly. Here in our new media seat today, we have Jasmine Wright, the White House reporter for Notice. Notice is a nonprofit and nonpartisan news site which launched in early 2024. They've gained millions of readers across the country since. Newsroom's goal is both to inform readers and train the next generation of politics and policy journalists. They also partner with state newsrooms to give local communities more knowledge of what their representatives are doing in Washington, D.C. With that, please kick us off, Jasmine.
Thanks so much, Caroline. A couple questions for you. The first one being...
And as you are watching the replay of Caroline Levit, the press secretary of press secretaries, batting 1,000 in defense and really going on the offense for this amazing administration as those gather great energy workers for President Trump's Unleashing American Energy Executive Order event. We're currently waiting for the president in a really packed East Room. Always fun to have these ceremonial signings and a chance for President Trump to engage not only with cabinet members, also members of the press, and also those hardworking men and women who have helped shape this great nation. The one that I remember, well, yesterday, of course, celebrating with the World Series champion LA Dodgers, but also, of course, that same room in that same direction, celebrating with those outstanding women who literally had to put up with men in women's sports. And as President Trump said, how did we even get to this situation? Years ago, you would never even debate these issues, but that's 2025 in America. But we know that President Trump is on 80% of those 80-20s, those overwhelming situations that support the American people, and they're wanting to be left alone. Let's see who's in the room there. I see Secretary Burgum standing up, of course, the former governor of North Dakota, doing an outstanding job serving the great people of Washington. Someone so successful in his own right, bringing tech prowess and creating an extraordinary business in his home state of North Dakota. I'm trying to peer as well of who else I might recognize. Looks like Representative Dan Muser is in the corner there, of course, from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And they're standing up, so it means that here he is, the 47th Commander-in-Chief, President Donald Trump. Will toss it there live to the East Room at the White House.
Strong, they're strong, and they're great. These are great people, and thank you very much. This is a very important day because we're bringing back an industry that was abandoned, despite the fact that it was just about the best, certainly the best in terms of power, real power. And I'm very honored to be doing this. The countries went to beautiful clean coal, and they've stayed there for many years, like China. China's opening 2 plants every week. Germany went green, very green. They went so green they almost went out of business. Germany was finished. They went to wind. The wind wasn't blowing too much. And they went to all sorts of other things. You know, the Green New Scam hit Germany too. And guess what? Now they're back to coal. They're opening up coal plants all over Germany. We're the ones that aren't doing it. I call it beautiful, clean coal. I told my people never use the word coal unless you put beautiful, clean before it. Right, Doc? So we call it beautiful, clean coal. Beautiful, clean coal. So today, thank you. Today we're taking historic action to help American workers, miners, families, and consumers. We're ending Joe Biden's war on beautiful, clean coal once and for all. And it wasn't just Biden, it was Obama, and there were others. But we're doing the exact opposite. And all those plants that have been closed are going to be opened. If they're modern enough, or they'll be ripped down and brand new ones will be built. We're going to put the miners back to work. And I said I was going to do this. And I've said it loud and clear. And it's time to do it, and we need it. And I look at these people behind me. I don't want to have any arm wrestling contests with any of them, but they've had a little more practice with the with lifting things, I will say, but they are great people, and I know them indirectly for a long, that includes you guys, for a long time, and they're great people, and with great families, and come from areas of the country that we love and we really respect. And I want to thank Secretary Doug Burgum for doing such an incredible job. From the day I met him, I knew I wanted to have him in my cabinet. He took a shot at running, and he was so good and so solid that he made no news, and that was good. But I saw him, and I saw his beautiful wife, Catherine, and I said that they're going to be a team. They are a great team, and they're going to be working for this country someday. And one of the first people I called after I won. So thank you very much. And along with the Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, and I was going to make Doug actually the Energy Secretary. And he said, sir, you have one person who's much better than me at this, Chris Wright. I said, who the hell is Chris Wright? I have no idea who he is. And then I learned that he's the most respected person in the energy business by far, far and away. For Doug to say that, Doug's got a big ego. It was very tough for him to say that. Catherine was there, right? Catherine, you said, wow, I've never heard that before. But Chris, you guys are fantastic. Stand up, all three of you, please stand up. Yeah, that's a great team. It's no better team than that. And they're going to produce energy the likes of which nobody's seen before. You know, we need to do the AI, all of this new technology that's coming online. We need more than double the energy, the electricity that we currently have. You take all of the electricity in the country right now for houses, for buildings, for everything. We need to more than double it to be number one. We're now way ahead of everybody at AI. China's in second place, but way behind. And they're going to be producing a lot of energy and a lot of electricity for this. And so are we, and we're going to get approvals very fast. And I would say the man that's almost comparable to you in terms of the importance to this, maybe he's even more comparable, I hate to tell you, a guy named Lee Zeldin, who's a friend of mine for a long time. He was a great... Lee was a great lawyer, and he ran for office, and he won immediately. I gave him a very important endorsement. He won for Congress in an area that was unwinnable. He couldn't have... They were all saying, why is he wasting his time? That's Democrat territory. And I liked Lee and knew Lee. And he ended up winning a seat in a massive upset. Nobody knew what happened, actually. And then he was there for a long time. How many years were you there? 8 years. Was very popular. And then he almost ran. He almost won the governorship of New York, which is lost by a few points, which was an amazing run. And I said, we got to get you in with us in some form. And we did. And he's head of the environmental agency, EPA, and doing a great job. And I said, if we have a nuclear power plant, Lee, can you get it approved in less than a month? He said, what? He said, I'll do it faster. And by the way, he'll do a fast job, but he's going to do also a great job. It's going to be an important job. We don't even smile about it, but, you know, I've been involved in the approval process for a long time, having been in real estate. And you go years and years and years for absolutely nothing. And even in those days, I used to say, you know, this whole thing could have been approved in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and it would have been just as good. But they'd take you down the path, and you'd spend years waiting, and then sometimes you get rejected. I wasn't rejected too much. I was the king of zoning. I did well, but it was such nonsense. It was so terrible. The process was so terrible. But this is the big leagues now, and he's the head person in the whole country, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you doing it. And already they're respecting you very greatly. So thank you very much, Lee. Great job. So we have a lot of senators and congressmen and women, and I'm going to just introduce the ones that I see here. because it's always a problem when I do this because I leave one or two out, and that's the end. I never get their vote again. I never get their vote. It takes years to recover, but we'll give it a shot because Senator John Barrasso, who's my friend and a great gentleman. Thank you very much, John, for being here. Thank you, John. Cynthia Lummis, fantastic woman who believes like I do, and she believes like I do in these people, right? She believes in them maybe even more than I do. That's pretty good from day one. Thank you, Cynthia. You're doing a fantastic job. Kevin Kramer, my friend. Where is Kevin? Because Kevin, I think he was here because he had a problem, and I just will pay my respects. He wanted to be here so badly, but he had a difficult problem that he's working through, and we all love Kevin. John Hovind. John, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Steve Daines. Thank you, Steve. And Steve is a picker of great candidates, like he picked a guy named Tim Sheehy, who's here. Where's Tim? Where is Tim? Thank you, Tim. And Tim Sheehy has turned out to be a wonderful senator, and that was your pick. And we went with it, and you were right. And we have a great one in Tim. So thank you, Tim, and thank you, Steve. Shelley Moore Capito. Shelley, thank you very much. West Virginia. From West Virginia, she has to you have no choice. Even if you didn't like it, you have to like all, right? But they were doing a number on you. They were doing a number on you with the coal stuff, and you have not only coal, but you have among the best coal anywhere in the world. So thank you very much. A friend of mine for a long time, I'm the one that got him to change his religion in a sense. He changed the party. He went from a Democrat. I said, Jim, you're not a Democrat. But he changed to Republican, and he's one of the most popular Republicans and one of the most popular political leaders in the country, Jim Justice. I call him Big Jim. Big Jim Justice. Good. You look good, Jim. And he was in the business, and so am I doing the right thing? You would know better than anybody in this room. Am I doing the right thing, Jim? Huh? I think so, right? Thank you very much, Jim. Cindy Hyde Smith. Cindy, thank you, hon. Very good. Good job. People are going to be happy. And all friends of mine. Mike Lee. Mike, thank you very much. We have a lot of people from Congress, congressmen and women, representatives. Morgan Griffith. Morgan, thank you. Thank you very much. Bruce Westerman. Bruce, thank you, Bruce. Bob Latta. Bob Latta. Thank you, Bob. Good job. Troy Balderson. Troy. Haven't seen you in a long time since that early race. I endorsed him before anyone knew who he was, and he ended up winning. That was another surprise, right? That was a long time ago. Yep, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much, Troy. Carol Miller. Carol, thank you. Carol, West Virginia. Riley Moore. Riley. Hi, Riley. Thanks. Mike Boast. Mike, thank you very much. Troy Downing. Troy, thank you. Oh, he says something. What is it, coal? Is there coal in that bag? Huh? Even better, it's clean coal. I like it. I'll take it right now. Thank you very much. Hal Rogers. Hal, thank you. Thank you, Hal. Andy Barr. Thank you, Andy. Good luck with everything. I hear good things. Troy Downing. Troy, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Troy. Hal Rogers. Oops. Harriet Hageman. Harriet. Hi. How are you, Harriet? We just left Harriet. This is one of the finest attorneys you will ever see. I have seen her in action, and she is brutal. I never want her against me, that I can tell you. Dan Muser. Dan. Thank you, Dan. Thanks, Dan. Good job you're doing. Wesley Hunt, my friend, too. Wesley, great. I love your commercial. Pete Stauber. Pete. Thank you, Pete. Great hockey player he was, right? Great hockey player. And a great gentleman just broke the record of Wayne Gretzky the great one is Wayne Gretzky, but we have another great one too, huh? Just broke the record. It was great. Governor Greg Gianforte. Greg, nice seeing you. Good, Greg. Thank you very much, Greg. Bill Lee. Bill, thank you very much. Patrick Morrissey, West Virginia, just got elected. Mark Gordon. Mark, thank you. Thank you very much. And we have a lot of others, and I'm in trouble because I don't know. I got 5 or 6 others that I see quickly, but I'm just not going to do it. Don't hold it against me because we have to get back to the most important people in the room, these people. You know that, right? So the energy workers and the coal miners in the area that I'm standing on, and that's a lot of weight on this platform, so I don't know what's going to happen. I hope it's structurally designed for you guys. I don't know. But we have just really well-deserving, great American patriots, and it's such an honor to be here and making such a big move, such a bold move in energy. Because, you know, for years, people would just bemoan this industry and decimate the industry for absolutely no reason, because with modern technology and all of the other things that we do, it's one of the great forms of energy. That's why other countries, leading countries, are using it, some exclusively. For 4 long years, Joe Biden and congressional Democrats tried to abolish the American coal industry. They did everything in their power while he was awake, which wasn't much, shutting down dozens of coal plants, banning coal leases on federal lands, and putting thousands and thousands of coal miners out of work, destroying their lives, actually, destroying their lives. I'll never forget when I went to West Virginia, which I won by 48 points, I think, right? Big Jim, I won by 48 points. But in the first campaign where Hillary Clinton was about 4 states too early, and she was talking about how bad coal was and how they were going to teach coal miners how to make widgets and gadgets and technology, which they didn't want to do. They want to mine. One thing I learned about the coal miners, that's what they want to do. You could give them a penthouse on Fifth Avenue and a different kind of a job, and they'd be unhappy. They want to mine coal. That's what they love to do. And she was going to put them in a high-tech industry where you make little cell phones and things. I don't know. Do you think he'd be good at that? I don't know. I would be. You don't want to be. And she was brutal about 3 weeks before, but then she had a problem. She went to West Virginia looking for votes, and that was a bad situation. You remember that? And there was a coal miner around the table with his family, and he was in tears because of what they had done to him and his family. And I hope he's still around, but that man made quite an impression on the world and the public. And we ended up winning in a great election, but we ended up winning by a lot. The Democrats' Green New Scam killed jobs and sent prices soaring here in America. But meanwhile, China opened 2 coal plants every single week, and other countries likewise went very strongly back into coal. Some of them never got off. Those are the ones that didn't have the problems. The Biden energy policy was to put America last. We want to be last. We got to be last. Not a good policy. Under my administration, we're putting America first. It's very simple. America's always going to be first. On my first day in office, I terminated the Green New Scam. I declared the national energy emergency and withdrew from the unfair, one-sided, and extremely costly to the United States only Paris Climate Accord. You know, under the Paris Climate Accord, we had a terrible situation. We would have paid over $1 trillion. Think of it, over $1 trillion. And Russia was paying almost nothing. Russia had a 1992 standard. China was paying nothing. China didn't kick in until 2035. This was 5 years ago. So they didn't kick in for many years. India had no standard whatsoever. But we had the highest standard you could imagine, and we had to start paying from day one, and we had to pay lots of money. We paid for everything. So I was not a big fan of the Paris Accord, and I let it be known, and I got out of it early. Then they went back into it, and now we get back out of it. And hopefully we can be there for a long time, okay? A long time, because it was a scam to take money away from the United States and actually hurt us very badly with coal and with other things. Now, under the executive order that I will sign in a few moments, we're slashing unnecessary regulations that targeted the beautiful clean coal. We will rapidly expedite leases for coal mining on federal lands, and these two gentlemen are going to do a real job of it. You've already started. And we'll streamline permitting. We will end the government bias against coal, and we're going to unlock the sweeping authorities of Defense Production Act, the Defense Production Act, to turbocharge coal mining in America. They made it impossible. You actually, I know a friend of mine has a plant. He said, you know, it's a shame. I'm ripping it down and I'm replacing it with another form of energy. I won't tell you because it's also very good, but it's not as powerful as this. He said, you know, the plant I'm building, the new plant, is literally half as good. It's no less, you know, it's not probably even as good environmentally, but he said it produced half the power for more money, much more money. It'll never compete with that beautiful plant I have down the road, which was really a modernized coal plant. Well, he'll be happy to know that he can open that plant up very quickly, and it's going to produce a lot. But he was complaining. He said, this is so much better. He wasn't doing that as politicking me. He was doing that because that's what he felt. And he knew every form of energy. We talked about that. He knew every form of energy. But our government is going to do something that's very different. And I don't think even you two know about this. This was my idea from about 15 minutes before I got up here. We're going to guarantee that we have a strong business for many years to come, that your coal companies and your miners don't get all excited about their jobs, and then should a radical left liberal become president, they end the business right away, and somebody's built a plant and spent hundreds of millions of dollars in building a plant, and the plant is going to be closed because a Democrat got in or a liberal got in. They're opposed to coal, and Republicans are very much for it, clean coal. And we're going to give a guarantee that the business will not be terminated by the ups and downs of the world of politics. So should somebody come in to this very important office and say, oh, well, you spent hundreds of millions of dollars and you guys have given up your life because you want to be in coal, and then all of a sudden you don't have a life anymore because it's what you know the best. That's not going to happen. We're going to give a guarantee that it's not going to happen, so that if somebody comes in, they cannot change it at a whim. They cannot just going to go. They're going to have to go through hell to close you up. All right, so that's pretty good. We're going to give that in the form of a guarantee that we're writing on right now structurally and from a legal standpoint. So your investments are going to also be protected. And you're going to have no reason to be concerned about your future, your life, or your investment if you're a miner, as this great governor was a miner. Actually, he was one of the larger coal miners. He could fit up here very easily, you know, Big Jim. But he was a great success. But they were very, very tough on him, and he did a beautiful job with a beautiful product. Already under our leadership, the Department of Interior has approved the expansion of the Spring Creek mine in Montana, supporting 280 coal mining jobs and unlocking over 40 million tons of coal. And there's more to come. Spring Creek, big one. And there's more to come in the states of Wyoming, Alabama, Utah, North Dakota, and many others. West Virginia, I can't believe they didn't put West Virginia down. It's lucky I mentioned that, right? Can you imagine if I didn't mention West Virginia? I would have been in big trouble. They didn't mark it down here. It's good to have a president like that can pick that up, right? You think Joe Biden would have picked that up? I don't think so. Gee, they didn't mention West Virginia. I don't think so. I don't think he'd be standing up here either. The value of untapped coal in our country is 100 times greater than the value of all the gold in Fort Knox. And we're going to unleash it and make America rich and powerful again. Under this order, I'm also directing Secretary Wright to use billions of dollars in federal funding to invest in the next generation of coal technology, which is an amazing technology in terms of getting the full potential of coal and also doing it in a very clean, environmental way. Pound for pound, coal is the single most reliable, durable, secure, and powerful form of energy there is on Earth today. It's a big statement. You never hear those statements, you know. You've never heard that before from a politician, have you? Well, maybe from that politician, but not too many. But that's the way it is. I say it again. Pound for pound, coal is the single most reliable, durable, secure, and powerful form of energy. It's cheap, incredibly efficient, high density, and it's almost indestructible. You could drop a bomb on it, and it's going to be there for you to use the next day, which you can't say with any other form of energy. You're virtually indestructible. Most importantly, we have more of it here in America than anywhere else on Earth. We have more coal than any other country. You go to Australia, they have fantastic amounts of coal. You know who they sell it to? China. They sell it to China. They're nearby. They sell a lot of it to China. But we have more than anywhere else on Earth. We also have more liquid gold than anywhere on Earth. So we're really an energy behemoth, but we're unleashing that also. That's going to be another part. But I didn't even want to mention that. It's not down here because I didn't want to mention today is about clean, beautiful coal. So I'm going to give this to you. This big guy. Should I give it to him? Yeah. No, you take that.
Take it, President.
Okay. For example, we believe it's possible to extract enormous amounts of critical minerals and rare earths, which you know we need for technology and high technology in the process of coal mining, making in America the mineral superpower of the world, actually. In addition, I'm instructing the Department of Justice to identify and fight every single unconstitutional state or local regulation that's putting our coal miners out of business, and we are withdrawing all of those objections from our government today. It's all being withdrawn. So all of you people that have been fighting for your lives, we are withdrawing all of that today. We have excellent lawyers, excellent. Have you noticed that lots of law firms have been signing up with Trump? $100 million, another $100 million for damages that they've done. But they give you $100 million, and then they announce that. But we have done nothing wrong, and I agree, they've done nothing wrong. But what the hell? They give me a lot of money, considering they've done nothing wrong. And we'll use some of those people, some of those great firms. They are great firms too. They just had a bad moment, but we're going to use some of those firms to work with you on your leasing and your other things, and they'll do a great job. I think they're going to do a fantastic job. And for those of you that want to know the tariffs, you've been hearing about tariffs, we're taking in almost $2 billion a day in tariffs. $2 billion a day. And we're doing very well. And we're doing very well in making, I call them tailored deals, not off the rack. These are tailored, highly tailored deals. Right now, Japan is flying here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here. I mean, my only problem is I'm not sure I have enough. We're going to have to use those great law firms, I think, to help us with that. But we're going to probably do that, actually. We're going to use them, and we're getting them for the right price because we need a lot of talent. We have a lot of countries coming in. They want to make deals. If I told them about making those deals 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 5 years ago, they'd be laughing at us. Now they're all signing up. Mike, you know that. So it's going to be a great thing. But we're think of that, $2 billion a day. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money even in the coal business, isn't it? Huh? It's a lot of money. And America's going to be very rich again very soon. You're going to see that happening. You see it all along. And it's so that whole situation that, you know, it was somewhat explosive. But if we didn't do that, we wouldn't be talking the way we're talking right now. It's been amazing what's happened. Sometimes you have to mix it up a little bit, but we've had great consideration. We've had talks with many countries, over 70. They all want to come in. Our problem is can't see that many that fast. But we don't have to because, as you know, the tariffs are on and the money is pouring in at a level that we've never seen before. And it's going to be great for us. It's going to be great for other countries. We've been ripped off and abused by countries for many years with the tariff situation. They've used tariffs against us. We didn't use tariffs against them or in any way. I mean, we just didn't use them of any monumental proportion. And so we are doing it now. We have tariffs on cars. We have tariffs on lumber, tariffs on steel and aluminum. Steel plants are going up because of it all over the country. We have 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum. And I think the steel workers like me even more than the coal miners like me. I'm pretty sure that that's true. We have, instead of having no steel business, I put them on originally in my first term. We wouldn't have had one steel mill in the United States if I didn't do that. And now we upped it, and we not only are we taking in a lot of money, but we're protecting our workers, our steel workers. We're protecting our steel industry. And one thing you know, that steel and things like steel you need, because you need it from a defense standpoint. You need steel for your tanks and your planes and your everything. And certain industries you can get away with not having, but others you need, and steel is one you need. So I want to let you know that's in full force and effect. And literally as we speak, I spoke to executives in the steel industry over the last few days, and they're all coming in to build plants in the United States of America, because if you build them in the United States, you have no tariffs to pay. There are no tariffs to pay, zero. If you build them outside using outside labor and hurting our businesses, and you send your product in, you have to pay a price for that, and they will be having tariffs, as you know. It's an amazing thing. This has been something used against us for many years by other countries, China in particular, but others, not just China, others, and taken advantage of us, ripped us off, and left us for dead, frankly. And I believe if I didn't become your president, I believe that this country would have had problems like they've never had before, because it was serious damage in so many other ways. Not only the border, where people came rushing into our country from prisons and jails and mental institutions, murderers, drug dealers, and some vicious criminals. 11,088 murderers came into our country. We have to get them out. We're getting them out. 11,088. Of that number, half committed murder on more than two people. And this is what they allowed into our country with their open border policy of lunacy. And we're taking care of that, just like we're taking care of you today. We're taking care of that. And I want to thank Kristi Noem and Tom Homan for doing an unbelievable job. The whole thing is, what the job they're doing is incredible. It's really an unforced error. It should have never happened, that we have to be spending such time and resources, Mr. Senator, right, on getting people out of our country that shouldn't be here. I mean, literally from mental institutions, insane asylums were opened up and emptied into our country. Prisons from all over the world, not just South America, prisons from, think of this, from Africa, the Congo, a lot of people from the Congo, prisons in the Congo, prisons from Asia, from all over were opened up. And I knew that when I heard it was an open border policy. I said, if you do that, every country is going to be dumping people that they don't want into our country. And that's what's happened, but we're cleaning it out. And the courts, we had a good decision, as you know, from the Supreme Court allowing us to do that. We have judges that didn't want us to do it. We have judges that wanted the very evil gang members from Trendy, Iroquois, and MS-13. They didn't want them taken out of the country and put in very powerful prisons. When you look, you've all seen those clips, pretty amazing clips. But I want to thank El Salvador. They've done an incredible job. But we've been fortunately winning those cases. But we have judges that are out of control that say, oh, bring them back, bring them back. We don't want them back. We don't want them back. Can you imagine? You spend all of that time, energy, and money on getting them out, and then you have a judge that sits there, a local judge who sits there, federal judges, sit there and say, no, bring them back. One was brought back, or they want to bring him back because he wasn't a member of Tren de Aragua. He was a member of MS-13, which is just as bad. So they misidentified him, but it sounds to me like he was a member of MS-13, so they want him brought back because he wasn't treated properly. It's we got to be smart. Our country's got to get a lot smarter than it is, but we have to give the people that are empowered to do this kind of work, and it's not pleasant work. We have to give them the option of making our country great again, and that's what they're doing, and I have great respect for those people. And they're doing it out of love. They could get a much easier job. They're doing it out of love for our country. It's so important, just like I'm doing this with coal today for love for our country. Earlier this afternoon, I signed another executive order to strengthen our electric grid by ensuring that coal-fired power plants are always available to meet surging demand for electricity. Unlike wind and solar, coal plants can run 24 hours a day in rain, sleet, or snow, and you will not be subject to the incredible blackout situation that's taking place in California, where they have blackouts all the time. It's an amazing thing with California. They have blackouts and brownouts at levels that nobody's ever seen before, and all they want to do is keep going the way they're going, and they're doing a very poor job. As you probably heard, I released billions of gallons of water going in from upstate California, from the most northern parts of California. Probably comes in from Canada to a certain extent. Thank you very much, Canada. We appreciate it. And I released it. It was being sent out to the Pacific Ocean. I've been working on Gavin and some of the politicians for years, and they didn't want to do that because they were protecting a smelt, a fish that was perhaps in trouble, but it's not unique to that area. And because of that, you had numbers, you had fires. Nobody's ever seen anything like what happened. Think of what it would have been like if you had fire hydrants that had water in them, if you had sprinkler systems in houses. A lot of these luxury houses where they had beautiful sprinkler systems, there was no water. They had no water to put out the fires. Water is very good for putting out fires, you know. They just didn't learn it. But we now have millions of gallons, billions actually, they say, of gallons of water pouring into California from the Pacific Northwest, I guess they would say, mostly Pacific Northwest, but other parts of the northern sections of California and beyond. And it's a beautiful thing to see. I saw a picture of it this morning. The water's just flowing down there. I said, why didn't they do this? I told them to do it. My first term, I said, do it. And I don't know. I think the second term is just more powerful. They do it. When I say do it, they do it, right? And we actually had to do some pretty strong things to get them to open it up. They had, think of this, they had all that water pouring out right into the Pacific. They had a big valve, like a giant valve as big as this room, and they turned the valve. Takes 1 day to turn it, and they face it toward the Pacific Ocean, and the water, all that was coming down, all millions and millions of gallons coming down, they put it into the Pacific Ocean, which for the Pacific Ocean is like a drop of water. But for California, it would have been unbelievable. So we did it. I'm very proud of the fact that we did it. We did that against a lot of heat and a lot of environmental nonsense. From now on, we'll ensure that our nation's critically needed coal plants, as an example, remain online and fully operational. They're always going to be operational. And again, we're going to have guarantees that government cannot close them down, close you down, and destroy your lives. To that end, I'm also instructing Secretary Wright to save the Cholla coal plant in Arizona, big plant, which has been slated for destruction. We're going to keep those coal miners on the job. Going to tell them to just remain calm, because we're going to have that plant opening and burning the clean coal, beautiful clean coal, in a very short period of time. You know all about that, right? That's a big one. As part of our historic deregulatory efforts. This afternoon, I'm also granting immediate relief to 47 companies operating 66 coal plants, very big ones all over the country, recusing and making them available for coal production almost in the immediate future, but we're going to be crushing Biden-era environmental restrictions. These are restrictions that made it impossible to do anything having to do, frankly, with energy, even beyond coal. It's really beyond even coal. We have clean air, we have clean water, and now we have clean coal. And at the same time, we're going to do other things and with other forms of technology and also energy, like our country has never really seen before and never been known to do before because of all sorts of restrictions having to do with the Green New Scam, which, by the way, was devised by somebody that never even studied. You know that they never even studied anything to do with the environment. It was a young congresswoman. She came up with the idea. And based on that, I guess we only have, well, actually, we should have all been gone because they gave us only a few years left on Earth, right? Right, Greg? We were going to be gone. We were all going to be gone. The environment, no. What they have to worry about is the nuclear heat. They don't have to worry about environmental heat. They have to worry about nuclear heat. And if we're smart, we're working on that right now with others having to do with Iran and some other countries. But that's the heat you're going to have to worry about. You don't have to worry about the air is getting warmer. The ocean will rise 1/4 of an inch within the next 500 to 600 years, giving you a little bit more waterfront property. They say this is going to. These guys can handle that. The nuclear we have a bigger problem with, right? So we're going to make sure that that's safe. We're going to make sure that that's safe. With us today are some of the amazing workers who will benefit from these policies, the policies that we're doing and so proud of doing, including Jeff Crow, a miner from West Virginia. Jeff, would you come up and say a few words? Jeff? Come on up here, Jeff.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. President. I want to first thank you for having me and my fellow miners here. It is an honor and a privilege to be a part of today's events. I believe this past November that America clearly spoke about what we wanted for our country. It is reassuring for Americans to have a president in office who will truly put the United States of America above all else. Thank you. With putting America first, you have spoken numerous times about energy independence. I believe most don't understand the importance of that. Coal is one of the major factors in energy independence and accounts for a large portion of America's energy. Coal is one of the most reliable and cheapest forms of electricity. For too long, coal has been a dirty word that most are afraid to speak about. Most of those that would speak negatively about coal do so from an uneducated standpoint. Many are unaware of the engineering and technology that are used in today's mining to create a clean, energy-efficient product. All of this is done while using the safest practices in the industry. Speaking for West Virginia, coal provides approximately 50,000 jobs for those that work in the mines and the businesses that support them. It also accounts for over 50% of West Virginia's export product. To name a few, we employ engineers, teachers, physical therapists, accountants, truck drivers, high school and college graduates. All of these occupations and graduates have turned to the coal industry to provide a better way of life for them and their families. Everyone in our industry works long hours and days to provide a reliable energy product, and too many times it goes unnoticed. I've personally worked in the industry for 23 years. I choose to do this daily to provide my wife and children with the life that they deserve. Prior administrations have done all they could to eliminate the coal industry. Sorry, 1 second, I'm getting there. In my opinion, they have done so with an unethical and uneducated approach. But we are still strong, we are still here, and we are still needed in order to make America great again. Having a president and an administration that understands the need and importance of coal is more than appreciated. It gives the industry a form of reassurance to know that we have a president in place that supports us. From my family to the over 3,000 employees of ACNR, and for the coal companies, miners, and businesses throughout our great country that rely on the coal industry, we say thank you for your continued support. I personally thank you for what you do for our country and for our industry. It has been my pleasure to be here today to help you usher in the golden age of America.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
You did a good job. Let me have that speech. I want to have that.
Yes, sir.
I had a couple of good lines in there when I came up. No, actually, what I want to do, I'm going to sign it for you because I mean, he worked hard. Look at it, and look how good his eyes must be to read that.
I lost it once.
And hopefully you can sell it tonight for a lot of money.
No, sir, I'll keep that one.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jeff. And also with us is Tony Campbell of the East Kentucky Power Cooperative. And Tony's quite a gentleman and very respected in the industry. Come on up, Tony. Thank you.
Mr. President, on behalf of East Kentucky Power Cooperative, the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association, and electric cooperatives across this America, thank you for your leadership to restore American energy dominance. Electric co-ops keep the lights on for 42 million Americans across 56% of the land mass. We are owned by the communities and businesses we serve and provide electricity to growing communities, new data centers, and manufacturing plants. Mr. President, electric co-ops are powering America, and we are proud to partner with you and your administration to power America into the future. Our electric cooperatives in Kentucky understands the importance of reliable, affordable, and American-made energy, especially coal and natural gas. Coal fuels most of the electricity generated by our cooperative. America must keep coal plants open and running to ensure reliable electricity when we need it most. To meet growing demand over the next decade and ensure fuel security, America will need more always available electric generation power, such as coal. And we want to recognize the hardworking American men, women that support our mission. To all America's line workers, our coal miners, thank you for your dedicated service to our country. Affordable and reliable electricity is the cornerstone of our economy, especially American manufacturing. However, too many government leaders have pushed policies that have made our electric grid significantly less reliable and our energy too expensive. That begins to change now. Your actions today will prevent the premature closing of essential power plants and help us meet tomorrow's energy needs. And they will help us continue to deliver reliable, safe, and affordable electricity. Mr. President, thank you in particular for providing immediate, much-needed relief from the Biden EPA regulations that would force the shutdown of critical coal units. Finally, I want to say congratulations on the all-star energy team you've assembled. Electric co-ops have already been working with Secretaries Bergrum, Wright, and Rollins, and Administrator Zeldin, and we are excited for all we can accomplish together. Mr. President, thank you again for your actions today and for your support for the electric cooperatives as we work to keep the lights on in America. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate it. Every day under the Trump administration, we will continue to lower costs for American families, create jobs for American workers, and very importantly, unlock unlimited amounts of affordable American energy, including, as I said, and I'll say for the last time, beautiful, clean coal. Our country is blessed. Our country is blessed with the most abundant natural resources on earth, as nobody has what we have. And we're going to use it, too. We're going to use it in a very responsible way. Together, we're going to tap that magnificent potential to give our people the glorious future that they deserve, better than they've ever had in the past. I mean, they had a good future. A little, if you look 20 years ago, they thought they had a good future, and it was ripped away from them, torn away from them with nonsense. And we're not going to let that happen. This is going to be a glorious future for them. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And I want to thank you and you and you and that whole group and our senators, by the way, and our great congressmen and women for being here in such a large number, because you've been helping us make these decisions. These are big decisions, and this is a really big one. And this is one that's going to be, I think we're going to look back and with great pride at what we've done today, not just in putting people to work, but at really reawakening our country. And thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Come on up.
Mr. President?
Yes, who's first one?
We have 4 items prepared for your signature this afternoon, sir. The first of these executive orders it may be one of the most significant executive orders of your administration thus far. This directs all departments and agencies of the federal government to end all discriminatory policies against the coal industry. This ends the leasing moratorium that prevents new coal projects on federal land, and it's going to accelerate all permitting and funding for new coal projects to allow the coal industry to flourish under your leadership, sir.
That's great. Thank you. Okay.
Sir, there are currently dozens of coal plants in America that are in imminent danger of being forced to close based on unscientific and unrealistic policies enacted by the Biden administration. What we're going to do is essentially impose a moratorium on those policies taking effect to protect coal plants that are currently operating, to ensure that they're able to continue producing power and continue providing jobs to Americans in the coal industry.
Right. Thank you very much. Okay.
Sir, Sir, you've made grid reliability and security a key focus of this administration. This executive order is going to promote grid security and reliability by ensuring, in part, that our grid policies are focused on secure and effective energy production and energy transmission, as opposed to woke policies that discriminate against secure sources of power like coal and other fossil fuels. Lastly, sir, one of the biggest problems we have in this space is Democrat states, radical leftist states, enacting policies and enacting an agenda that discriminates against coal, against secure sources of energy. Many of these policies are unconstitutional and illegal, and with this executive order, you're going to be instructing your Department of Justice to vigorously pursue and investigate these state policies that we believe are illegal or unconstitutional.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great job. He went to Harvard when Harvard was good. It was a while ago.
Tariffs, sir.
Well, some great moments there in the East Room of the White House. Hello, everybody. It is almost the top of the hour. We just saw President Trump sign a number of executive orders, all to make America energy independent again. So awesome that when the president takes that time there to shake hands of everyday Americans, it's not just saying hello to the vice president and to those that are maybe known in Washington. It's about all of us, and that's what's awesome about this president. It was great to see him there. And in just about an hour, we'll have more coverage with President Trump. He's on his way then to a dinner tonight. We'll have it live right here. It's the National Republican Congressional Committee dinner. So at 6 o'clock Eastern time, you can join us right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. In the meantime, all of this brought to you by a number of great sponsors, including Angel Paste. All you have to do is go to angelpaste.com, use that RSBN promo code to get a discount off of that great product. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801. So just text RSBN to 801-801. For Robert McNeely, of course, who was here throughout the day, and myself, Matthew Alvarez, and all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, thanks so much for this, watching this live stream. We'll see you at 6 o'clock as we continue our coverage of President Trump.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
President Trump is keeping his promises and saving America. And your kids can learn all about it for free with a new Kids Guide to President Trump. This fun guide shows kids all the steps President Trump is taking to put America back on top of the world stage, including building a strong economy, protecting our borders, and negotiating trade deals. It's an exciting way for kids to learn about President Trump's outstanding leadership. Act now and get a free bonus guide, The Courage of the President. Order now at freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.